Welcome to Momentous Live, episode 35, if you can believe it. And I have a giant head here, and we don't usually do that. Let's fix that. Here we are. To one side of me is the lovely and talented.
It's me, Tasia Custodi.
I keep expecting
And
to say Mario.
underneath me is
me. Wait, is that me or is that you?
No, it's you. It's you.
Jesus.
Okay, yeah. It's me. It's Mike. Fabulous Flicks. Somehow got invited back for another one of these debacles.
And last but not least.
And then over to that side of me is.
It's me, William Silver, otherwise known as Molotov on Table Beats.
There we go. Still perfect. With the teeny bit of audio issues, but we'll work that out. Who knows? We put Will's phone in airplane mode. Who knows what it is? Maybe we got to get him on a wired internet connection at some point. It's the nasty Wi-Fi's, or maybe his new laptop's going to sort everything out.
I hope so.
So
am I still sounding like RoboCrut?
You're better, but there's still a little. But that's fine. It's boring. It's bad radio. So we'll just push our way through. Yeah. So. We're car heavy, vehicle heavy, and entertainment heavy today. So let's jump right in with a little bit of follow-up. Happy Halloween, by the way. Happy belated Halloween. Now yesterday was All Saints Day. Today is All Souls Day, but Halloween, All Hallows Eve, which is the day before All Saints Day. But online, Steve Buscemi got some attention because he dressed up as his own meme and immediately won Halloween. So some of you may be familiar with the "How do you do, fellow kids" meme from a long time ago. That's from a sketch or a movie or TV show?
30 Rock.
30 Rock. That's right. Brilliant. And so here he is, modern day Steve Buscemi dressed as himself.
It's awesome.
And just a fun little thing there.
Good.
That reminds me, what was it? 1997, I think it was. I dressed up as myself 5 years previous to that, and I didn't look entirely dissimilar to Steve Buscemi in this photo. Similarly, I still have the glasses that are very similar to that, and I was wearing my rolled up jean shirts and my raver hat with the brim flipped up.
Is that a Varney hat?
No, well, I don't know what his is. Mine was a Fresh Jive hat, which is very 90s, of course. So quick round robin. Tasia, what did you get up to for Halloween?
Well, we dressed our dog Poppy as the queen of our hearts and made that costume myself, cut my finger really bad doing it. Worth it. And then we went as masquerade ballers because this year we were like, you know what? Because we usually go big and huge. And since the onset of COVID, we have done no parties, obviously nothing. So it's the second year, no party. Last year I went nuts, even though there was like literally nobody. It was just us outside with our neighbors and no trick-or-treaters. And I spent way too much money and did like a whole Wonder Woman thing. So this year I was like, we're going to use what we have in the tickle trunk. So that's what I did.
Can we share the photo of you? I found it on Facebook. All right. So here we are.
How big is your tickle trunk? Is that an appropriate question to ask?
It's a Mr. Dress Up question.
It's getting bigger. We need a second one, like it's not as big of a trunk. It's more like a big Tupperware rather than, but it's a little tickle trunk. But we were like, we have to use what we have.
We got all eyes wide shut vibe going on here.
That's it.
That was shot
Stanley
on the Pixel
Kubrick
6 Pro. Just a quick little point and shoot. Yeah.
Quick little plug and shoot.
Cute, so that's what we did. And we always go crazy with the house, like exterior and interior wise. So this time we had a few kids actually come by and they were like, we wanted to come to your house. It's so cute. Like we're like the weirdos, like the adults with no kids that like really go all out for Halloween.
That seems to be a requirement of many of our regular guests here and on
it's the best.
Momentous, yes. Except for the lack of joy. Anyhow, how about you, Will? What did you get up to in your Halloween?
Well, we like to refer to childless adults as dinks, dual income, no kids.
Yeah.
We didn't get up to much. Often we just go and spend it with our nieces and nephews. Like we're not big dresser-uppers, if that's a word. We actually cowered in our upper floor and just watched movies and television. So that was kind of our Halloween. We didn't get up to much.
And Ged?
We dressed our Frenchie up as Bat Dog, and I went as Robin. And then we had a couple. Then we had a couple
Nice.
friends over, and we watched The Nightmare Before Christmas and Hubie Halloween.
What's that?
Saw
What's
that last
Hubie
year.
Halloween?
Yeah.
It's Adam Sandler playing every Adam Sandler character, but in a Halloween movie. It's on Netflix. It's so bad, it's incredible. It's like
Yeah.
Waterboy meets Billy Madison with a slight touch of Happy Gilmore, and all of his normal cast are in it. It's incredible. It's awful, but it's happy, it's wonderful, and it's what we all need.
I thought you were going to say it's like waterboarding.
No. No, but he is he is the water boy. He is the water boy character in that.
Wow.
Yes.
Waterboy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Bobby
not.
Boucher?
It's not funny like those movies. We watched it last year, Dad, and we were like, okay, so he's just gonna do this from now on.
Yeah.
This is gonna be the character.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I mean, you have to feel nostalgic enough to be able to re-laugh at that character 20 years later. And it's even tough for me.
Is little Nicky in it?
No, he was way too raspy to be the little Nicky character. Yeah, he was very much Bobby Boucher in this one.
So as for us here at Momentous HQ, the last couple of years, my wife and I have made a point of leaving out a bowl of candies at the front because we barely get any trick-or-treaters on our very steep hill. And with the firecrackers and fireworks, since we've got our dog Levi a few years ago, he is not good with all that, gets pretty stressed out. So what we've been doing is, like you will, we've been holing up in our TV room, and in our case, it's in our lower floor, and putting on some movies or TV that's loud enough to kind of drown out the sounds from outside. So what we actually started watching this year, finally got around to starting to watch The Stand, the adaptation of the Stephen King novel of 1,400 pages, which has been made into a mini-series on Amazon Prime Video. So we're a couple episodes into that, and it's interesting. And this is the first time we did a count of the number of candies we had left in the bowl on the front step. And by the end of the evening, we did a count at the end, and there was only 2 pieces gone. We left a little note saying, help yourself kind of thing. So that's probably one kid that came by, because again, steep hill, lazy kids, or maybe too many like Scrooges on our block, who knows what. But I think the word has gotten out that our hill is not worth the effort for the regular payoff. But I mean, someone could have just taken another bowl and dumped it in their bag, but they were too polite. Just took 2 pieces.
One of my coworkers, their kid is 13 years old and went out trick-or-treating sort of late-ish and came back with just a crazy amount of candy, because everyone's like, oh, do you want the rest of my candy? And just sort of like dumped candy into their bag. Wow. Because there weren't people showing up. So they're just like, here you go.
When we're on a keto diet, so we can't eat this. So here you go, kid.
Yeah.
Do you have some dried dates?
And sadness.
As for our missing momentous friend, Gray, from social media, this is what he was up to. Looked like he did a little DJing for Halloween, and it appears that his skin got melted off. So pour one out for Gray. Hopefully it'll grow back in time for him to rejoin us in a couple of weeks. So
gotta hand it to him. He stays up later than all of us, I think, still. So.
All right, we ready for our stories?
Do it.
We like our stories. Let me just. I got too many windows open.
Waiting?
We're still waiting. Something's going to happen.
Processing.
Here we go. Elon Musk says Hertz actually hasn't ordered 100,000 Tesla EVs yet. So quick follow-up to a story we talked about last week, that Hertz Rent-A-Car, fresh off of their bankruptcy, financial reconstruction, ordered 100,000 Tesla EVs for their fleets, because that's what customers have been asking for. And, of course, Tesla's price shot up at the sound of that news. And then, of course, it came out this week when asked directly, because this was Hertz that announced this, not even Tesla, because that's the kind of thing that Elon would, just sort of announce prematurely. But he was asked and said, well, yeah, actually, a contract hasn't been signed yet, but it's going to happen. So, and then of course Tesla stock plunged in the meantime. So, look, it sounds like it's still going to happen. I mean, if Hertz is the one that announced this, if they've got the money, they can get the money together. They got to buy cars for their fleets anyhow. So, anyway, just a quick little update. Don't think it's going to affect many of our travel plans here, but we just like to make sure that the record stands corrected for these.
And it's a good bold play, right? I mean, if they're struggling financially, it's a bold move. It's probably going to be their last Hail Mary. For Hertz to kind of stay not only as a player in the rental car business, but maybe even stay in business based on their financial history.
Yeah, they're really banking on the world getting somewhat back to normal and the demand for rental cars to come back. I think part of the challenge there is the business travel market, which I think a lot of people are guessing is not going to come back quite as strongly given the real push into telepresence and video conferencing and whatnot. It'll come back a bit, but we'll see how many rental car agencies the world can sustain in the post-COVID world. Speaking of electric cars, Land Rover has plans to add an all-electric Range Rover to its lineup in 2024. So they announced the 2022 Range Rover, and they kind of Osborned themselves here by saying, well, just wait in a couple of years and we've got an all-electric one. So the problem when companies do stuff like that is that some people think themselves, well, maybe I'll just wait for that a couple more years for that one. And the Osborne effect, as some folks might know, it has to do with Osborne computers. I think Will's dad had one of those, and the founder and head of Osborne Computers at the time prematurely announced the Osborne 2, and quickly the sales of the current Osborne model dried up, and it's one of the things that may have led to their demise back in the 80s. So, Ged, what do you think? What's the strategy here for Range Rover? Like, why aren't they at risk of torpedoing some of their gasoline engine sales by announcing this battery electric? In just a couple of years later.
No, I mean, there are areas of the world that are really going to push. Canada's not one of them, that you can't have any gas vehicles. Range Rover is obviously a very high-end vehicle, starting at $115,000. So they needed to play in this market. But I think they'll actually do better with the stuff that's in the interim. So 2022, 2023, you're going to see electric assisted vehicles. I think this is a great kind of combination and marriage between them both. So you're going to have gas in the vehicle, but it's going to be electric assisted. Obviously, there's a ton of companies that do it now. I think that is actually going to be a more successful play for Range Rover than the all electric. I think you'll see the all electric do well in certain parts of Europe that are really going to get against gas, where gas is, $4 or $5 a liter right now. But I think it's only going to serve a niche market. It's also going to be, north of $280,000. So I don't think you see an Osborne effect here at all. Same with Ford. Ford is doing the all electric truck next year, but they have an electric assisted one now that's doing very, very well, because there is still a bit of range anxiety out there.
For sure. Well, with the 2023, they're talking about 62 miles of pure EV range and 434 horsepower. But again, with the gas engine, you get several hundred more miles in addition to that. So we'll see what happens when their pure electric comes out. They're giving themselves a couple more years to really get.
And they give that range just so people know what it could do on all electric. Those vehicles are not designed to drive on just electric. As a matter of fact, it's very bad to drive a vehicle that has electric assist in just electric, because your gas can literally turn into mud and you can destroy your engine, which has happened actually in the mini world.
If you're not using the gas enough,
correct, or at all,
turns into gel, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. So there you can mitigate that by adding some fuel stabilizer and
or use the gas. I mean, there is that too. Yeah. Turn the gas engine on. It's okay.
Yeah. While we're talking about electrics, we have Ford revealing a Mustang Mach-E GT electric crate motor being installed into an F-100 concept pickup truck. So we've got the old meets the new here. But feast your eyes on this baby. This sort of speaks to me, being the age that I am. But Crate Motors has been working on this this process whereby you can drop an electric engine into a traditional gas vehicle. And this is a market that some people posit that may get some of the traditional car enthusiasts interested in electric by them being able to update their classic cars, and especially when it comes to the point where gas is more and more expensive as time goes on, and we look for alternatives. And there's going to be that social judgment too, probably in 10-15 years, when like, oh God, you're driving a gas vehicle. So this is a way to get around that a little bit. Tasia, down in where you are in your undisclosed location south of the border in the desert climes, what sort of vehicles do people tend to be driving there?
It's a real mix, to be honest, and it depends kind of where you are here. If you're more like where in the county I'm in, that's more populous and like the most population in the whole state, it is a real mix. However, if you go out more towards, like your Tucson's even, which is still a major city, or, like Flagstaffs and stuff, ton of trucks. And people have them here too. I mean, just with landscaping jobs, a lot of construction and stuff like that. I think the biggest concern here with hybrids or fully electrics, are the batteries. That's my big concern too, when we eventually go electric, because here in the heat, batteries don't last long. So, I remember back in Canada having to change a battery in my car maybe once. And here it's every 2 to 3 years, 3 if you're lucky. And so that's just the concern of like, what happens when the Tesla battery goes? How much is that going to cost me? What's the recycling process like? You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know. So, but I know a lot of people that have hybrids and they do use the gas too. So that's good.
Well, I look forward to seeing more of this sort of approach, because it's mainstreaming electric technology, and we're going to see all sorts of innovative companies cropping up offering options like this. And I think it was this one option just for the engine itself, the electric motor. I think it was running around $3,900. $3,900, yeah, US. So that's outside of the batteries and anything like that. So, and any of the other customization that one might need to do. So, this is early days, and prices will come down with volumes, but nice to see options coming up for folks. Now, Will, you are a video game enthusiast, or have been over the years, correct?
Yes.
Did you ever play Halo?
You know what? I did a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I used to watch a fair bit of Halo. I'm one of those weird guys who also likes watching video games. So I probably have watched more Halo than I've actually played myself.
Well, can we interest you in the Chevy Beast, which looks like it's straight out of Halo? So this was another announcement from SEMA 2021, which is a show dedicated to automotive aftermarket companies. And this was and then you get the big players in there too, showing their various concepts. But they're really going with this Chevy Beast. It seems like they're really going over the what's that? Ged, what do you know? This side by sides, or what's the weird kind of like mega giant quads kinds of things that people are driving around. We talked about one.
The big jacked ups.
No, the ones where they're kind of like almost like a dune buggy kind of thing. It's not a 4, is it a 2x2? I think they're known as. Yeah. So anyway,
I see.
Yeah. So that's what this seems to be. The market this seems to be going after here. And
can I say there's two big differences? First of all, the Chevy logo on the front is not Halo. Second of all, there's no gun turret on the back. So those are the two differences that you will notice.
Fine details. Well, I think this is the perfect kind of vehicle that may be appropriate for the zombie apocalypse when it comes. But it's a 4-seater powered by a Chevrolet Performance LT4 supercharged crate engine, good for 650 horsepower. So, Tasia, if you can't get a hold of that latest Corvette that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, maybe put one of these on your wish list. Another thing that was announced or shown off.
Hold on. Before we jump off this, the bottom of that article showed a yellow 57 Chevy.
That's exactly what we're getting
actually running a hybrid assisted engine they're going to test in the new Corvettes coming out.
Wow.
So you beat me to it, Ged. That's exactly
Sorry,
what
I
you're
was all
throwing to.
excited.
All right.
I didn't get the yap about the Ford
okay.
thing. So I'm like, no, let's not pass this over.
It's okay. I can go. You take over.
Wow.
So, 57 Chevy. Now, when I was
play it
about
like that.
7 years old, I think I had like a Matchbox car of a 57 Chevy. And I thought this was the coolest car ever. So, Ged, what speaks to you about this particular yellow one? You want to discuss the details a little bit here?
Well, they're combining a lot of hybrid type electric motor stuff, kind of like the way that Ford's doing with their crate engine. But they're actually going to take this because it's based on the front end chassis of a Vette, and they're going to test some of this technology in upcoming productions of performance Corvettes, which is very cool.
Asia, you interested?
Oh man, I'm interested. My dad would freak. See, this is the type of wealth I want, to be able to just like be like, I'm gonna buy that, and like for somebody, you know what I mean, and be like, surprise, this is now on your doorstep.
Well, hey,
He'd
you know,
freak
give us
out.
give us another 376,000 episodes of Momentous. We might build an audience large enough to start fulfilling your dreams.
I'll take the Corvette.
Tasia, I hear you're a big Corvette fan. Are you like a classic Vette fan as well, or kind of the newer mid-engine ones?
A classic as well. But I love the
So-
newer like mid-engine ones, and I like how they've thrown back to like from, was it maybe 2013 or 2012 when they started doing the Stingray again. That's my jam. We've talked like last week, Ed. I was like, the lines, the curves.
Oh, the 2023
like,
Z06.
Excuse me.
Yeah, with the F1 exhaust. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those classics now with that Ford thing called Illuminate, you'll actually be able to drop these drivetrains in the actual vehicle. So those crate motors are actual motors with drivetrains for $3,900. They're just not the nuts and bolts. They do have power with them. So you can literally drop two of those in a classic 60s Corvette for less than $8,000 US and run like a 67 Stingray T-roof full electric at 480 equivalencies of horsepower. Like, that's just so mind-boggling. What Ford's doing with these crate engines might be a huge difference maker in the auto industry when it comes to classic cars over the next 20 years. Like, it's crazy. It can't be overstated enough.
We should do it and take a video of it for Momentous.
Well, I really want a mini classic. So when I saw this, I literally sent the link to my wife because I've been eyeing up a 90s like tiny mini classic. And the single motor drop-in will give you 280 equivalency horsepower. Thing's going to be a missile. So yeah, 100% I will be doing this. This is a great waste of money. I am in.
And so as for quickly the details on this 57 Chevy style thing with the drop-in engine, this is called Project X. It rides on a C6 Corvette front suspension powered by an electric motor, making an estimated 340 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque. So the 57 Chevy was originally went for $250 back in 1965. Mm-hmm. So there's inflation for you. So, but I think we kind of touching on a larger issue here, and that has to do with, the nostalgia one feels for a certain era of vehicles, and also the style that what we once had that you just don't see anymore. So many cars are looking more and more the same nowadays, mostly in the interest of aerodynamics to feed fuel efficiency and all that sort of thing, whether it's a gasoline vehicle or an electric vehicle, because the efficiency is key. So a lot of the older designs, even though they may be beautiful in some respects, they just aren't that fuel efficient. Add to the fact a lot of them were very heavy, big steel frames, and not particularly safe. But for the enthusiast who's maybe just taking this kind of thing out on a Sunday drive and has a bit of cash to spare, this sort of option seems kind of intriguing. Like for me, I'm thinking, wow, like early 70s BMW 3.0 CS would be, like I said, it's a beautiful car, and to have to have an electrified version of that would be amazing, because they just don't make cars that look like that anymore. So, so we got all these, as these boomers start retiring, and then especially those who have Bitcoin and living off of starting to enjoy some of their savings, getting all their toys, maybe we will start to see more and more of that. So now we're getting to the main show here, the thing that I'm really excited about. To take down the Chevy beast, we have none other than the Toyota Tacozilla concept.
Love it.
So good.
So this is a throwback to the Toyota mini campers that came out late 70s, early 80s, when fuel efficiency was key. And so what Toyota has done with this concept is they have basically taken a Tacoma TRD and camperized it. And it is just amazing. Like the color scheme alone. That's like, we had that color scheme in the foyer of my high school, actually, in the mid 80s. And I know I've mentioned it before. I've always fantasized about, living in an RV, and maybe, here's one with all mod cons, all modern conveniences. Maybe my time has finally come. And I'm not sure if I can convince my wife to do the same, but just look at this.
Be awesome.
Okay.
So when you say all modern conveniences,
Mm-hmm.
is there a loo?
We just have to keep
Where
scrolling.
do I go to the bathroom?
That's funny because my
Always
wife has that
my
same question.
number one question.
Number one, I see what you did there.
Ooh.
What's your number
It's
two
my
question?
number one and number two. I need to know if there's a bathroom.
It's mostly my number two question because dude, number one ain't that big of a problem.
That's right. Yeah, the world is your urinal. I think, it looks like there's no photos of this that have appeared, but it looks like there's enough room in the back there. I saw a door there that might have it. But it's got a sink and a stove. It's got a flat screen TV. Yes, yeah, make do in the sink. All sorts of look at this though, man. I could live in this. Got a little fridge. You can keep 3 apples in it.
You could keep 3 apples.
So I think this is the magic door that that
yes.
answers your question here, Tej. That looks like it goes to a
I
loo.
see
Oh,
it.
there it is.
There it
There's a
is.
loo.
Someone left
It
the lid
answers
up.
your number
Ugh.
two question.
I'm sold.
There it is. Of course, there's no price because this isn't a real thing. It's just a concept. That's the thing with these car shows and other related trade shows is they tease us with these amazing concepts, and then good luck if they ever reach the market. I mean, some vehicles finally hit the market a number of years later in a much more conservative sort of form, and and some reach the market in a reasonably faithful form. But we'll see about this. I guarantee you, even if this one doesn't make it to market, there's going to be custom shops that are going to be building stuff that looks just like this.
Yeah.
SEMA is such a cool event. I would love to see it in Vegas just even once. It's so neat.
Well, maybe we should have a momentous road trip some year.
Yeah.
I like this play.
So what would it take to get you into living in a camper van, Will?
Well, first of all, an understanding wife. I like space. Like I'm a junk hog. Like Tristan will know what I'm talking about. I'm actually hunting down a second identical Vestax mixer of one that I already have. I'm in conversations with the guy. I can't get rid of my stuff. It's just not going to happen.
You're going to need a giant casket, dude. Take all that stuff with you.
Well, my wife says she's just putting them out in the curb when I die. So there we go. So.
Perfect.
You have some cool stuff. Send me your address when that happens.
Will do.
Tasia, I'll purelate some stuff south of the border to you.
Perfect.
Is that a verb now? Purelate? That's the first time I've ever heard that.
Purelate.
I love it.
Purelate.
Exactly. So the Tacozilla has a bronze 17-inch wheels with all-terrain tires, a lifted TRD suspension kit, and TRD is, I believe, a Toyota racing division, an integrated winch in the front bumper, a snorkel, so you can drive through deep puddles and across rivers and streams without stalling your engine, and a huge light bar, mostly stock 3.5 liter V6 and manual transmission, second battery, and a custom exhaust system. So Toyota wanted the interior to look like a micro house with the rustic look, sauna-inspired teak floors, wood cabinets, and a pop-up skylight. The dining table is 3D printed and can convert into a backlit piece of wall art, TV, and lots of sleeping room and storage space. Again, that's the thing, is that with these things, wide angle cameras do a lot of heavy lifting. when you look at some of these photos, it's like, wow, that looks really roomy on the inside. It's like once you get in there, it's like, so you got to make sure that if you're with one other person, that you're really good friends, because you're gonna be up in each other's face.
So TJ, can I hint on something that we may have a video coming?
Hint away.
So we went and saw a tiny house as part of, was it the fall?
Vancouver Fall Home Show.
You had to say it 300 times. I was just holding the camera. And we went to a tiny home, and it was cool, but I was trying to shoot it and go in there, and I'm like, there's not much to shoot. There's like, I'm trying to get an interesting angle. It's like, there's one angle, and then there's a bathroom, and that's it.
We got to get us a wide angle lens.
Yeah. And like, we even tried to get like some of the stuff to come down, and, you know, drawers. There's not. It's a room and a bathroom, and so it's I just, like, again, it's cool. My wife loves those tiny home shows and the van conversion YouTubes and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just like, this is not enough space for me.
Yeah, the reality of that sort of living is different than the dream, for sure. It's one thing to watch that kind of stuff on TV and to fantasize about it when you're in high school and whatnot. But once you actually do that, it's a different story altogether. That's why it's great that there are rentals available. Both, you know, you can rent a cabin, or you could rent a camper van and see what you think of the van life or the camper life. And there's been this explosion in the last few years of van life and RV life videos on YouTube, and they're fun to watch. But the honest ones show you what it can be really like. You know, for example, emptying out your cartridge toilet, you know, if you don't have a tank, and even emptying the tank of a toilet, that's no fun. You got to find somewhere to dump that stuff. So yeah, Hewing House was the tiny home maker that we visited at the Vancouver Fall Home Show. So we'll be having a video of that interview coming out in a few weeks. So stay tuned to all the momentous socials.
It was very cool, by the way. I'm not trying to denigrate it at all, but there's just not much to shoot.
You're not tiny house shaming or anything?
No shaming the tiny houses.
No tiny shaming.
So we're into the second half of our hour together here, and we're shifting into entertainment mode. Before we get into a few specific recent movies that Ged has diligently viewed as our movie correspondent for Momentous, we're going to get just one little issue I want to talk about. And this is something that I want to do a quick little survey of the three of you. When you are watching, we'll start with you, Tasia. When you're watching TV shows or movies on your various devices, how often do you have closed captioning or the subtitles on when it's in English that you're watching? Tasia?
0.5% of the time.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Okay. How about when you're watching clips on your tablet or phone?
Literally only if I can't put the volume up. So like if something else is going on and I don't want to like bug somebody else in the house, whatever, but I want to watch like a YouTube video, that is the only time I put the caption on.
All right. How about you, Ged?
I would say until very recently, flat 0. However, I am in the middle of watching The Flash right now.
Like as we're speaking. Thanks.
Yeah. Currently. Yeah, no, I've been going through The Flash recently, and I have closed captioned on because my wife falls asleep on the couch, and I hate to admit it. I don't dislike it. But that's only a show. I don't know if I would ever, I know where you're going with this. I don't know if I would ever go watch a movie like this.
Okay. Yeah. How about you, Will?
Never. I do watch, obviously, I know you're talking about English. I watch things in other languages or where there's people who speak other languages. And I'm sort of confessing things on live stream, but I tablet a lot when I'm watching television. My wife and I multitask and, you know, play games and do other things. And it's a problem if I can't listen to it. So when something's like something's a foreign language movie or has people speaking other languages, we're like, okay, I guess we have to put down our tablets.
Reading shows and movies, I find to be a little a little distracting. But that is a thing when, even when Squid Game came out, we were talking about that a few weeks ago. You could watch it with subtitles, or you could watch it dubbed. And some people seem to have pretty strong opinions about that one way or the other. If you have both on, it's even more confusing because they often don't match. The translations they use are sometimes different. But I just wanted to direct your attention to this article from Mashable that came out last week. And it's basically saying subtitles are the future. Sorry, caption haters. And apparently many viewers, millennials and Gen Z especially, looking at you, Tasia, love captions. So how long before these streaming services catch on? I'm not sure about that last question because it seems like most streaming services do support that. And you see a lot of social media videos have, when people are sharing stuff on Instagram, for example, many people are scrolling through their phone with the volume down or off altogether.
Yes.
So a lot of these clips by default have captions, just sort of built in. But apparently, there's the author of this one article said their informal Twitter poll said that 75% of people that answered their survey were in favor of subtitles. And even a couple of years ago, there was a poll that said that similar percentages had them on always or very often, even though their hearing is technically a-okay. So it's an interesting phenomenon. Like, and I first experienced this with my dad a few years ago. As his hearing started to go, he would watch things with closed captions on like all the time. And frankly, I find it a little distracting. I'd like to take in the full picture on the TV. It's we have a big TV for. But if it can help, it helps people who are hard of hearing, great. But the fact that people who aren't hard of hearing are taking part with this too. Some of the issues raised include things like when people speak quickly or slow their speech. There's a lot of times where I find myself actually going back. There's a neat feature on the Apple TV boxes, the last 3 generations worth, where you can hold down the Siri remote button and say, what did he say? Or what did she say? And it will automatically go back 10 seconds, turn on closed captioning during that time, and then it'll turn closed captioning off when it's done, replayed that 10-second clip, and then it just carries on. So, do you see any of you see yourselves using this more and more, A, as your hearing starts to go, or B, like some people are doing what's called double screening, and they're often looking at a phone or tablet while they're watching TV. In that case, I'm not really exactly sure how closed captioning helps you, because your attention is paid to the other screen. It's not like you're going to be reading the closed captions on the TV anyhow. You would be hearing that. So any other thoughts from any of you on this trend, or if you've heard from any friends or family that are using this in ways that you might not have expected?
Well, I think that anybody making content needs to provide closed captioning regardless of whether or not they use it for accessibility purposes. And for me, for the past year or so now, every single Instagram story I do, I add captions to it. And I do that not just for accessibility reasons, but also just for like ease of use with how I feel like people are using their devices. Because often, like you just said, like I don't keep my volume up. So when I'm watching an Instagram story, I like to just watch the captions and like not have the volume, because it would like be really annoying to the other people in the house, like if I was like playing people's voices or like constantly on stories. So that's like the perfect example of, I actually get annoyed when people don't caption their stories, because then I have to like turn up the volume, or I just skip their story and I'm like, well, I don't know what you were talking about, and I don't care enough to like put it on. But that's kind of, so I do see the point. And actually yesterday we were watching a show on TV and neither of us understood like a question that was asked from the interviewer, and we were like, wait, what did she say? And so like we had to like rewind it and go, oh, okay, I got it now. So I can see a use too, even for people that are, not hard of hearing, to need that perhaps occasionally.
Can I give a use case for captions?
Do it.
I know some people. I go on various Reddits and Facebook groups to find out about particularly Marvel and Star Wars TV shows and try to get spoilers. And people I know will watch either with captions on or descriptive explanations, even in English. they'll go through the Spanish version, they'll go through other versions to catch little things like pronouns or people's names that are supposed to be secret but are accidentally revealed in credits. For example, the female character in Loki, spoilers, people were wondering, what is she? Is she a Loki? What is she? And actually the credits said Sylvie before she even said her name was Sylvie. And that was in a different language version. It wasn't in the English version of the credits. So I know people that go through just to hear things, like I said, pronouns and things like that, to get a hint on spoilers.
Oh, especially given in some languages that have gendered articles, referring to certain people ahead of time. That's interesting. One of the things that bugs me about some closed captioning, though, is that it comes on screen often before the person speaks, and I find that it's like almost a spoiler for the words just about to come out of their mouth. So I don't know if they can do anything to fix that. And to your point, Tasia, some of the other side benefits for closed captioning and having a script there associated with it could be SEO, search engine optimization, right? Because the search engines can see all the words that have been mentioned in that script. So if we wanted to be fully accessibility compliant here, maybe when we're wrapped up, Will, if you can go and manually transcribe everything that we've talked about today, that'd be great. But to that point, there are tools like Descript, which are very handy for processing the audio from a video like this. They're not 100% perfect. You need some time to go and clean things up, but it can aid in the rapid creation of transcripts for closed captioning purposes, and all timed out. That can be a huge time saver, and that's only going to get better as the machine learning algorithms improve.
I hope the D stands for descriptive.
Yes, not the other kind. Anyhow.
Slow clap. Thank you.
Very slow. Anyhow. So, also, for kids videos, having the text on screen could help with some absorption through osmosis of the language. Sort of a learning assistive technology there. And some people almost refer to this as comic book TV. Right? I mean, comic books are a great way to get kids interested in reading, of course. So, let's. I think it's nice to have the options. Let's put it that way. It's okay for people to like things, even though it's not something I would choose to do, at least in this current stage of my hearing. But my wife might get frustrated enough as time goes on to just have it on all the time. So I have to stop rewinding or stop saying, "What did he say?"
Can I add one more thing? Mm-hmm. This is particularly around learning. I think, Tristan, you may know this, is that people learn different ways. So if it is learning content, it's especially really good, even if you aren't hard of hearing or have any sort of assisted issues or anything like that. If it's educational content, that can also be really beneficial if you're someone who learns better by actually seeing something on the screen rather than just listening to it.
And we're getting more and more requests for our company, Limestone Learning. Visit us at www.limestonelearning.com. We do all sorts of online training for various organizations, and more, especially thanks to incoming legislation in various jurisdictions, they are asking for accessibility compliance with a lot of the online courses that their learning and development departments are producing. So that's where we come in to help out with that. So more and more of our work is being accessibility compliant. So yeah,
cool. Quickly, sorry, just before we jump off that, right at the very bottom of that article, it mentioned that AMC was actually going to be running new feature films, a certain percentage of them in closed caption. It'll be interesting to see a year from now if they study, the percentages of people that went for one versus the other to see what those numbers would look like.
Yes. As long as it's not everywhere. I think there are some cases where, aren't there some places where there have little screens that will read out for people who are hard of hearing, and you get a little device as opposed to having it on the main screen. So great to experiment.
Tristan, we've been to ones where there was like multiple listings, and one of them had the listing for like assistive devices.
Right. That rings a bell there. So speaking of Hollywood, apparently Hollywood is suddenly bracing the blockchain, and specifically NFTs. So we've talked about NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, in the past here on Momentous. And it's a great way for artists to be able to monetize their digital versions of their works, and perhaps even participate in the aftermarket sales of said works. They can program into the smart contract associated with their NFT. So if someone sells a work of art, but then the buyer then later resells it, usually at a much higher price if it's appreciated, the original artist can get a cut of that too, which is kind of nice for the artist. But other organizations such as NBA with their Top Shots line, where they have been selling NFT images and highlight clips and all that, with the brand recognition of the teams and the players, have seen huge activity there. So I think what's going on now is that Hollywood's going, we have a lot of super fans for our various properties out there, be it TV or movies. So I think they are seeing a potential gravy train of collectibles coming out through NFTs once they kind of figure out all the rights. Because that's the thing, is like, there's movies have so many contracts, and there's union participation and art, actor contracts to deal with. But I would keep an eye on the future of NFTs. So anyone out there that's collecting, might want to get in line to get the latest James Bond, NFT, Daniel Craig's last performance as Bond, maybe a special No Time to Die NFT, a limited run of 100 or 1,000 or what have you. Ged, as the official Momentous entertainment correspondent, what do you think of the appeal of something like this? People have been collecting movie-related paraphernalia for decades. Is this the next logical step in that trend?
Well, if I understood anything about what an NFT was, I might be able to have a comment on it. But this is one of those things where I must admit, when I read this article before we jumped on, I scratched my head. I have absolutely no idea what this stuff is. I mean, the concept of linking a trailable funding to paraphernalia in any sorts makes sense to me if it was one of those incredibly crazy moments or something that's worth a lot of money. But I'm going to have to rely on one of your expertise on this. What is this stuff?
Well, Tasia's great at explaining this, so I'll let her give the long explanation. I love the quick explanation, which is an NFT is, imagine that you bought something and someone gave you a receipt, and then you threw out the thing you bought and you kept the receipt. It's basically the receipt.
Thank you. That does not help me at all.
But a receipt that you could enjoy.
Yeah.
Tasia, you're gonna have to help me out here. I now actually feel like I know less about it.
Well done, Mo.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So
Hey,
I've
help
never
me out
heard
here.
that before. Okay, in layman's terms, like how I think of it is, it's basically like a digital item or digital token that you own. So
Okay.
like, it could be physical, so we could get into a whole bunch of things, but really popular for things like audio or artwork or things like that. So you're essentially buying like a digital goods, and you own that, but then you also have the rights to, like, you could sell that again if you want, or you could get maybe special, am I explaining this good? Maybe special, as an example, out of the art
Give me a
world.
real life example here.
You could do, so like a lot of bands and stuff started doing NFTs and like selling them for concerts. So basically, if you bought this band's NFT, you would get some digital currency, essentially, like something digital that you would own, quote unquote, like to have like a little digital trinket, but you'd get special perks. So like maybe you get front row to the shows for the rest of your life. If you own this specific NFT from this band, then you could sell that, and then the ownership would transfer. So the perks that go along with that digital good would transfer to the next owner. Theoretically, they could go up or down in price depending on the popularity of demand, the popularity of the artist.
the important
figure-
So in
and I
theory,
agree-
I could buy like an NFT for No Time to Die from James Bond, and as things get released and the value of that property goes up, in theory, my NFT could not only provide perks, but I could make money off of it, and it's saleable.
yes.
If
In
they
theory,
chose
yes.
to, if they chose to include those features with that particular NFT. And one of the key things is that it's not, you can't forge it because it's all on the blockchain, which is a public ledger. So people are really interested from like a ticketing point of view, so that you're buying, legitimate tickets, which can be all verified on the public blockchain.
Wow.
I
So
guess
it's like
Exactly.
Pokemon for adults.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've actually talked about that angle too.
And one of the things too is that it's my sort of exaggeration about the receipt is that it's the chain of ownership. As Teja said, it can be all sorts of things. It could be a physical thing. It could just be a meme that everyone can look at. I can download that meme and have that image of that meme, but I'm not the rightful owner of the meme because I'm not on the blockchain who says that I'm an authenticated owner of that meme.
Yeah,
But anyone can look at the meme. But I can also be the owner on the blockchain.
Yeah, and there's the prestige associated with that. It's like a certificate of authenticity. Now, there is a growing concern with actual piracy in the sense that people who actually don't have the rights to certain intellectual properties are going and rushing in and minting their own NFTs of things that they don't have the rights to. So that's going to become an issue because like anyone can mint their own NFT. So
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like, so now, Will, as a collector, you've of lots of things, not just mixers, but you have a fair bit of like entertainment paraphernalia. Have you entertained the thought, or does it interest you to hold some of these digital goods, especially if they are in limited supplies?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said this before, but it was a while ago. I'm not a big fan of the ones where it's like it's a meme. I think there was a product that I brought up, several months ago, where it was actually a statue and there was a limited edition. And if you wanted to buy an NFT as part of that limited edition, it was like a pop culture Marvel statue. You could mint an NFT and it would show a chain of ownership. I mean, I'm okay with that kind of thing because it is kind of like it's cashing in, but you actually have a physical thing, and it is a reputable maker of collectibles called Sideshow Collectible that was minting this NFT as part of a 1,000 run of the statue that they were making. Okay, I get that. But if someone's just making a piece of art that's a 3D house, and it goes for $5 million, check please. I'm not interested in that. But if there is a physical thing and it's collectible, I get that. And I get the craze that's going on about this being a collectible. I mean, even in video games I play, people are obsessed. And, a lot of these pay for play is because people want a certain dance move or want the red bunny suit or whatever it is, they'll pay $10 for it. So it taps into this little bit of collecting bug, which I think is in all of us. I know it's especially in me, but all of us have a bit of this. So it's, as Tristan said, this exclusivity or that I have ownership of this is sort of, I think, this primordial thing that it's tapping into. But if it comes to a digital thing that anyone else can have or something kind of conceptual or artistic, I'm not interested. If it's an actual collectible, I'm interested.
Yeah, and as a mechanism, it serves to create scarcity where there is no native scarcity, right? Because anyone can can duplicate images so easily, but you can't duplicate the chain of authenticity. So being on the blockchain. So I think maybe this is a realization that as time goes on, people are less and less able to afford decent size places to live. So you don't want to clutter your house with Blu-ray discs and mixers and figurines, but digital, all you need is the space on the blockchain, which is pretty much infinite.
You just go live in your virtual reality house that you bought.
Oh yeah, and of course,
one camper. You can fit in your Tacozilla.
So one story that we didn't have on our rundown today, it's pretty basic. Facebook has come out and renamed their the main company to Meta, and then to disassociate Facebook so much from Instagram, from WhatsApp, and their metaverse aspiration. But all these NFT type considerations could play into the metaverse, where someone could sell special outfits, hats, abilities, and whatnot, and they could be part of a limited run, as an NFT. So you could have your limited edition Kobe Bryant jersey that only 5 people in the metaverse get a chance to wear. So it's limited only by your imagination. So just looking at the clock here, I don't even know what you were thinking, Will, and I'm not going to ask. So let's talk about some three blockbuster movies that came out. There's this huge pent-up demand over the last year or plus for movies to hit the theaters as theaters have started to open up again. And 3 big ones in the last month: Venom, No Time to Die, the last Daniel Craig James Bond movie, and Dune. And there's some stories associated with each of those. Apparently Venom, Let There Be Carnage, has become the second biggest highest grossing movie of 2021, which is kind of interesting. And there's another article from CNN Business saying how No Time to Die is the most important movie of the pandemic era, because really a litmus test for the desirability of going back to the theaters. That's one other little thing on the crypto story, is that AMC, the theater chain in the US, is actually going to start accepting through some mechanism Bitcoin, Ether, and other cryptocurrencies for ticket purchases. And then, of course, Dune, which is the most recent of the blockbusters to come out, not counting Eternals, which is later this week from Marvel. Even before Dune, all the numbers came in, they already got greenlit for a sequel, which is supposed to hit theaters in 2023 in October, Dune Part 2. So, Ged, as I'll say it the 3rd time now, Momentous official entertainment correspondent, you're the only one of the 4 of us who has done their homework and has seen all 3 movies, because apparently the rest of us don't have our priorities straight. So can you walk us through your impressions of each of those movies, starting with Venom, Let There Be Carnage?
It doesn't suck.
All right.
That's what I can tell you about Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Anyone who saw the first Venom knew that it was dying a very, very slow death. Let There Be Carnage was actually really good. I went to see it with a buddy of mine, and he's got this really thick English accent. I would actually like to subtitle him the odd time or closed caption him so that I can understand him after he has a couple drinks. But he literally looked at me, he's like, "Oh crap, it didn't suck." They figured out the balance between that inner dialogue between the character and Venom. They knew when to take it dark. In the first one, they really struggled with that, which I mean makes sense. Mm-hmm. But they really got that balance well. Yeah.
It's a strange character, to be sure, right? To get that right.
It is. And obviously they needed to figure it out, but the story made sense. Woody Harrelson as the villain was absolutely brilliant. He was creepy. He was animated. He was a lot of fun. And the unfortunate part is, obviously, there's a lot of legality in the back end between Marvel and Sony and Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse. Part of me wanted it to tank because then it would just die. And then they would hand everything over to Marvel and just call it a dead loss. It unfortunately was quite good. And I'm curious to see how that's going to shape the Marvel-verse for the next kind of 5 years. That's my quick rundown for Carnage. If you were disappointed in the first one, give it a shot. It was not terrible at all.
And
I kind of like the first one. My only problem was the 3rd act, I think, kind of dragged down a bit.
Yep.
And muddied the waters. I kind of enjoyed, I mean, it's sort of like the hero's origin story and anti-hero or hero. I kind of enjoyed the first little bit, but it was the last part that I think really dragged. And it's part of this problem, too, when we get a lot of animated CGI with superhero movies, is it tends to go dark visually or incoherent visually. The Transformer movies definitely had that at the yin yang technical word. So it's good to hear this one's good. Tristan and I have it high on our list to go watch. We actually have to do our homework.
Yeah, Marvel has a 3rd act problem, and some movies handle it better than others, because it usually ends up being like the big battle, and finding creative ways to do that without boring people to tears, especially older folks who have seen it over and over and over again. That's an ongoing challenge. Venom, Let There Be Carnage has done $190 million at the box office so far. So next
I'll give
up,
it a
Ged.
good. I'll give it a solid 7.8.
All right. Okay. No time to die, Ged.
No Time to Die, last installment of Bond. I will not give any spoilers away. This ends poetically and unlike any other Bond has ever ended in terms of an actor coming to their last movie. It was brilliantly written. Great tribute to the vehicles with the Aston Martin DB5 and DB6. It was borderline perfect. It was incredible. If I had one small gripe, I don't love the lack of chemistry that I saw between Daniel Craig and the leading lady. But that's just like one tiny little small gripe. I just didn't see it on film. But there's a very interesting underlying story to the Daniel Craig series of James Bond, which is he is this outcast. He's rough around the edges. This was very early Bond. And he never really fit in anywhere. And all he really wanted, it sounds very cliche, was he wanted somewhere to feel safe. And he wanted people around him that loved him. And this movie just ends so bloody brilliantly. I can't swear on here, but my God, if you followed this series, make time to see it and make time to see it in theaters. They shot on location a lot. The cinematography was absolutely incredible.
My wife and I have started rewatching the Daniel Craig Bond movies in anticipation of seeing this, so it's all fresh in our memories. So yeah, definitely look forward. So he's saying it's okay. You don't want to raise expectations too much, but it was perfect. Okay.
I mean, other than like I said, it's tough because in the first Bond movie he falls in love with the character Vesper, and everything kind of equates to that. So I'm a little picky because I didn't see that same chemistry in the last one. But I mean, other than that, it was just so well done. Tasia, are you a Bond watcher? Do you watch any of these?
Yeah, but I haven't seen this yet, so I'm excited to know that it's good.
Well, I mean, I hope I don't come on next time. You guys tell me I was wrong and it was terrible. I thought
is
the
pressure
cinematography
now.
was good. Yeah,
Because I'm gonna come back to you and be like, perfect. You said it was perfect.
The female.
well,
lead-
I look at the qualifications as: does it have a great storyline? Is the cinematography done well? Is the story believable? And does it wrap up well? Like often when you end a series of a movie or a series of a TV show, we can all think of TV shows specifically like your Sopranos and your Dexters of the world, where we're like, some people loved it and some people didn't. I haven't met anybody else in a forum that did not enjoy the way it ended. So yeah, I would love to hear your guys' feedback when you watch it. I thought it was brilliant.
The female lead can't be as bad as Denise Richards.
But I thought Christmas only came once a year.
Yeah, oh man, it was the worst. She was the worst. Bond women are not known for supreme acting performances, and she
Vesper
was
was
by
awesome.
far the worst.
Yeah, fair. Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah, I think as the Bond has adapted to more modern eras, you've seen an evolution in the female characters as well.
Yeah.
And the Daniel Craig Bonds are definitely grittier and a fair bit different in character than the Pierce Brosnan ones for sure. The Timothy Dalton one's kind of underrated, but he was a little rough around the edges as well. Yeah. All right. So next up, Dune. Ged, what's your take on Dune?
It's interesting because you and I talked the other day. You're saying, "Oh, Dune 2 has been greenlit." I'm like, "Well, this is weird." And I grew up watching the original Dune. I've watched it more times than I could shake a stick at. But I watched Dune 1, and well, obviously it's been greenlit. They only tell half the story. I mean, I don't have to worry about spoilers here because it's literally the remake of an old movie. But what I loved about it was in the original, it seems like they spent 75% of the time telling about half the story. And then it seemed like in 25 minutes, all of this stuff happened towards the end of the movie. I love the fact that they've broken it up. My favorite part about this movie is a couple fold. Director Denis Villeneuve is doing an amazing job restoring and rebooting old movies. Blade Runner 2049, as much as I wasn't a big Blade Runner fan, I get why people loved it. I grew up as a Dune fan. Again, I'll use the term cinematography. What they do with Arrakis and House Atreides, I mean, You couldn't do that in 1989. It was physically impossible. The sandworms in 1989 look like glorified things that you'd put on a fish hook. They did them beautifully in this. They painted a really good picture, but the cast was a no lose. I mean, you've got Rebecca Ferguson, who was in the Mission Impossible movies, who plays the mom. You've got Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron. Hello, no brainer. You've got Jason Momoa. Other than Aquaman, he's got nothing to be ashamed of. You've got Thanos is in there. Josh Brolin, Dave Bautista is in there saying 3 words because that's all he's good for. And of course, you have Zendaya, or however you say it. I mean, the cast was well done. Timothée Chalamet, who played the lead character, I liked that he was kind of an unknown because he could you didn't associate him with another character. But I really liked what the director did with this movie. I am beyond excited to see the second part of this really kind of put together the way it should have been done in 1982. It was very nerdy cool. So get your full nerd on for this one.
And definitely one to see in the theater, I assume.
It is an audio-visual spectacle.
There's one IMAX theater in the Greater Vancouver area that's showing it, and we're seeing if maybe we can make it to that, because some of the scenes were filmed for IMAX for sure. My wife and I rewatched the original Dune, which is, for the record, 1984. So what they accomplished 84. So even 5 years earlier with their tech, it was, it looks a little cheesy, but for the tech, it's all right. David Lynch, director of Eraserhead, Blue Velvet, all sorts of Mulholland Drive, Lost Highway, all sorts of crazy stuff. The Twin Peaks series. I think he did an interesting job. I mean, it's very polarizing. One of the things that frequent momentous guest Jamie Reynolds noted that from the trailer, he was concerned that this new take on Dune didn't look dirty enough. And when you watch Lynch's 1984 Dune, it's pretty dirty, pretty gritty. What would you say to that concern, having seen the movie?
I think that it's a fair concern. It is definitely a possibly cleaner version, but I think back then it had to be dirty because I think they rushed the story a lot. I think it got dirty and gritty because they covered far too much content in one movie. Yes, it looks a little bit more cleaner. Yes, it looks a bit more refined. There are obviously some subtle differences. One very substantial difference that I won't kind of say on here.
They're not
when it comes to how the whole takeover happens with kind of his family and the demise of his mother versus his father and things like that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's cleaner, but it's cleaner because they're describing the story better.
So of the 3 movies that we've touched on so far, Tasia, if someone put a gun to your head and said you can only watch one before you die, which is it going to be?
I'll watch Bond.
All right.
Because there's no time to die.
Yeah.
Will?
Yeah.
It's a tough one. Probably Venom.
All right. And interesting.
I'm
Ged?
surprised. I thought you were going to go straight Dune on that one, Will.
And how about you, Ged? Like, knowing what you know now about the 3, if you had to choose one, what's your number 1?
I'm a Bond guy. As much as I loved how cool and nerdy Dune was, I was surprised by Venom. I am 1,000% a Bond guy. I've got the remastered Blu-rays behind me and hard disk. Gotcha. Everybody wanted to be James Bond. Let's be honest.
All right. Well, we got Team Bond over in that column over there. For me, it's probably be Dune if I get to see part 2 as well. If they let me live for part 2.
So good.
All right. We're almost done here. One quick trailer dropped just recently from Disney Plus. At the end of the Mandalorian series, they teased the book of Boba Fett, and now we have an actual trailer for that coming out. I believe it's December, and the actor, an older actor, what was his name again? It's somewhere in the. He was a great actor. I can't remember, his name is escaping me, but he did the voice of Boba Fett in one or more of the Star Wars movies, not the original ones, but I think he did in some of the animated stuff as well. But it's right. So sort of what they're doing with Disney Plus, kind of exploring the Star Wars universe a little more here. And in this case, Boba Fett is basically taking over Jabba the Hutt's empire. Will, what was your impression? You're probably our official Star Wars correspondent here.
Yeah, just to start, so you guys have seen the trailer. Did you know what the thing was that walked across the screen?
No, but
no.
Well, but we got to make it quick because we're going to lose Tasia.
I'll be
So
quick.
Yeah.
They're Boromar monks. It's actually monks that reach the next state of being, put their head in this little robot spider, and they're actually behind Jabba the Hutt has taken over their monastery in Return of the Jedi, and you can actually see one going in the background next to 3PO when they walk in.
gotcha.
That is
cool.
one of the
I remember
nerdiest
that
things
scene.
I may ever say in my whole entire life. But I'm a huge fan of Star Wars, as you know. I think this looks pretty badass. It looks like The Mandalorian meets The Sopranos. I'm pretty much in. I think there's some things we can learn from the trailer and speculate that are going to happen. But I think this just looks like a very interesting story about leaders and empires and the fallout from Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So looking forward to seeing it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Can't wait. Very, very cool story idea.
All right. So let's wrap up with, we got some projects from everyone involved here. Ged, on Fabulous Flicks, you have, what's your latest video, real quick?
Very quick was my No Time to Die video. Big change here. I actually used the cinematic mode on my iPhone 13 rather than my digital SLR, and it absolutely crushed. So my digital SLR is basically useless at this point. It did an amazing job coloring everything. Other than trying to edit it was a bit of a pain in the ass in Final Cut with HDR content. It was amazing. Trying to do more quick and dirty, no spoiler reviews, 3 minutes in and out, no B-roll, just some content.
What's your next one that we can expect?
Probably going to do one for Venom and 1,000% doing one for Dune. And then I'm going throwback, Gleaming the Cube, and then the Wizard from the 80s.
I love the Wizard.
Gleaming the Cube. Nice. Will, you've got some new beats for us this week.
Yeah, I released a new looper just before the Halloweens, and it's Flares from the Crypt, or he mistyped Flare from the Crypt, but it's Flares from the Crypt. Flare is a DJ move, so DJ sort of like technique, and yeah, it's sort of spooky, weird, synthy type beats, heavy on bass, and yeah, I hope people check it out on the Table Beats app.
You can check it out at tablebeats.com and download the app, and then go to the library and search for the name Molotov, and you'll find Will's various looper packs there, quite a few now, and Flares from the Crypt being the latest, featuring such hits as Heavy Breathing, The Latest Victim, Rogue Cyborg, and Blood Red. Good stuff. And Tasia, you have yet another video on the Google 6 Pro. What's this one's about, and how is it different from the last one?
So this one is all about the best features outside the camera features. So, we talk like tensor chip and enhanced security, better battery life. We talk all kinds of things with this one. I only mentioned the camera stuff briefly because since I have a full length video on all the camera stuff, because there's a lot to cover with the Pixel 6 Pro. It's a pretty good device.
Great closed captioning too.
Awesome. And then we actually have an official Momentous video has just gone live today as well. How much boat can $10.5 million get you? And this was from the Sydney Boat Show that Will and I were at recently. And we got to go aboard what we've been referring to as the big boy boat. And it's this 90-footer Revolution 28R series that we got a little tour around, talked to a gentleman from the company, and even got exclusive access into the engine room. So it's been lots of fun getting back out into the world, and we've got lots more videos coming, both from the BC Boat Show from Sydney, BC, and the Vancouver Fall Home Show. So Will and I are just working on editing up a storm for more videos that you will find on the Momentous channel. And so, Tasia, where can people find out more about your offerings?
Best to go to youtube.com/Tasia Custodi.
And Will?
Well, with my beats, you can find me on Instagram, and it's at Crossfader Ninja.
Perfect. And how about you, Ged?
Fabulous Flicks. Find me on Facebook and or YouTube's.
And that's Flicks with an X.
Flicks with an X.
And of course, you can learn more about Momentous, momentous.tv, facebook.com/momentous.tv, instagram.com/momentous.tv, twitter.com/momentous.tv, and on YouTube, search for my name, and you can find the Momentous playlists there and the Momentous channel as well. Tasia, Will, and especially Ged, thank you all for joining us. We hope you and everyone at home, we trust and hope and pray that you all have a week that is truly what?
Momentous.
Momentous.